Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Friday, January 26th. And the headlines: warm and windy today with highs in the mid to upper 40s, and we'll continue that into tomorrow. But with the winds, it won't feel as warm as it might otherwise be. And again, seasonably mild conditions up and down right into much of next week. And we got some big time Arctic air coming in for February. Question is, will it come in with a snowstorm on the front side of that? That's to be determined. We are looking at a storm for later next week, but right now the European doesn't even show it, and it was the most aggressive. But the Canadian and the US models show a pretty significant storm, but it would take the snow down into Ohio. But again, as we talked about when it was showing a lot of snow for us a couple of days ago, that we really can't take much into these models until we get about 4 days or in from that storm. So as we get into next Monday and Tuesday, we'll see what the models look like then. But I think it will be a storm that'll possibly affect the area. But again, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Early next week, an upper level system with some cold air could give us a trace to maybe an inch or two of snow across much of the area. But again, that's also a little bit debatable at this point. As far as yesterday, we had a high of 33 and a low of 22 with no precipitation, no snow on the ground. And if we look at the conditions around the area this morning, about 5 degrees warmer than yesterday with upper 20s to low 30s across the area. Plenty of cloud cover, but we should break into some sunshine, and it should be a really nice day out there, again, outside of the wind. And this is the 40th anniversary of the great blizzard of '78 with some of the lowest barometric pressures ever recorded, certainly in Cleveland they did. And again, outside of a tropical storm or hurricane, again, these barometric pressures were incredibly low. Winds in Cleveland gusted to 90 miles per hour with this storm, and many areas in Michigan picked up anywhere between 10 to as much as 30 inches of snow. And you can go to this website if you really want to read up on what was really an amazing storm, probably the most powerful blizzard that ever recorded, that the National Weather Service has recorded anyhow. And if we look at the satellite view this morning, you can see the cloud cover across much of the state, but you can see it lifting up to the northeast, and you can also see where there's actually snow on the ground where these pictures don't really move, indicating that snow cover. And you can see as you come into mid-Michigan, southwest lower Michigan, no snow on the ground, with the exception of right along the lake shore. And if we look at the radar, there's nothing out there, and here's some of the overlay of some of the stations across the Great Lakes. There's actually about 10 times as many, but zoomed out this far, they don't have as many. And if you look at the weather map this morning, again, low pressure system, and this whole front will be moving off to the east. The low pressure system will develop. Again, it won't really intensify. It'll stay off to the south, and that's why we don't expect like we saw about 5 days ago, we looked like we could have a pretty wet system coming up into the Great Lakes. Again, that's not going to be the case. Some more significant rains, though, will be down across Tennessee Valley and off to the south. For much of the Great Lakes over the next 7 days, not a lot of precipitation. And again, this is a GFS, which shows most of the heavy snows for later next week being down into the Ohio Valley. So if you're around the Columbus, Springfield area, again, you might be looking at some exciting weather next week. But again, 3 or 4 days from now, it may be shifted back off to the northwest. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. And again, speaking of the GFS, showing that storm for next week, bringing a tremendous amount of snow. Again, Columbus and Springfield, rather, you're right in the bullseye right now. But again, that's likely to change 3 or 4 different times between now and when the storm actually arrives. And then behind that, and maybe another clipper system streams in. Again, the GFS and the European are both, or the GFS and the Canadian are both on board with a pretty good storm coming up there into the Ohio Valley. The European shows nothing, and that's usually one of our more reliable models. So again, we'll just have to wait a few days and see what happens. As far as the extended outlook, you can see colder conditions are going to be spreading back into the Great Lakes, and this is nothing. When we get into that 15 to 20 day period, it could be just tremendous cold, and we could see the coldest air of the year again as we get around the 5th to the 10th of February, someplace in that ballpark. And again, near to above normal precipitation, so that would certainly indicate we have a good chance of covering the ground up with snow again as we turn the page and move towards February and into the month of February. As far as the forecast goes, windy conditions today, highs in the upper 40s, only down to 40 tonight, mid 40s tomorrow, maybe a little bit of light rain showers tonight into early Saturday, and then late Sunday into early Monday, maybe a little bit of snow showers as temperatures fall back into the 20s, and lows getting down to around 10 degrees by next Tuesday. Again, we'll warm up a little bit, I think, as we get towards the middle of the week, and then we'll keep an eye on what could be a storm coming up into the Ohio Valley. As far as weather watch, not a whole lot going out there. We got wind advisories across areas around Kansas City. And that's really about it. It's going to be windy here, but not a wind advisory criteria. But again, so a pretty calm pattern for this time of year across the Great Lakes. Thanks for stopping by and have yourself a great day, a great weekend, and 73s to all.